Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sumi and I'm the owner and illustrator of the Mochi Cloud. And today we're going to do our mid-year Techo Kaigi. And if you're not aware of what Techo Kaigi is, it's basically a meeting that you have with all your notebooks, journals, planners, somewhere, in the middle of the year or at however many intervals you want to put it on. And basically you're just trying to assess and see how your notebooks have been going for you, if you see that you're good enough to stick with a system, or if you need to make some changes depending on how your planning methods have changed. So we're gonna do our mid-year Techo Kaigi today, and if you want to see the Techo Kaigi that I had done at the beginning of the year, talking about all the planners that I intend to use for this year, I will link that up in the cards. And let me tell you, things have changed from how I have been planning and journaling as well. So keep watching to know how these things have been working for me and how some of these systems I think have become quite redundant since my life has also changed a little bit. So if you don't know, I had a bunch of books that I was planning to use this year, and while some of that system has still remained intact, there has been quite a bit of changes, and I will talk about some of the things that I think has happened and that has led to me trying to figure out that I really do not need these many books. So I'm just gonna start with my main planner, which is this Hobonichi Techo Cousin A5. That is, I had purchased this full year, and let me move the other ones out of the way so that we can talk about this one in particular. And I'm just gonna talk specifically about this one right now. And if you don't know, this is from Hobonichi. This is the Going Merry logbook, which was part of their One Piece collaboration for the year 2023. And I have the Hobonichi Techo Cousin inside this particular leather cover. So if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you would notice that I used to do a lot of journal flip throughs. So at the end of the month, I would generally have like a November flip through or a December flip through where I show you how my days have gone in that particular month. And I have purposefully avoided doing that this year because honestly, it has been a little bit of a struggle trying to keep up with this Hobonichi Cousin, I feel. I did start out planning pretty much like every other year, and I think I went on a decent streak, but I did take a vacation in the month of February, and after I came back, it's been like a little difficult trying to get back into it. I do still plan in my Hobonichi Cousin. I do plan my week, and I try to plan my days, but you will just notice that there are a lot of blank pages, and especially the blank pages at the beginning of the month. I just don't do anything there, and I used to do a lot of art related spreads in my journal in my Hobonichi Cousin for the last year, and somehow this year it's not been that great for me. I am going through like a really bad art block, and I do feel that part of the reason I feel a little bit down this year and this entire first half of the year is because of the art block that I've been going through, and it has kind of impeded me in even writing stuff in my journal and my planner. I try to plan out things, but sometimes it just doesn't work, and I feel like at one point I just started writing stuff for the sake of writing, and I've just realized that I'm just not going to force myself to write something just for the sake of filling that page, and that's what I'm trying to land on right now. So while I am writing as much as I can, I am also being a little mindful about my own mental health and not pushing myself to write something just for the sake of writing it. And I kind of I've come to terms with that. And while another one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I absolutely love this cover. Like, you know, is this this was a difficult piece to get my hands on. You know, if you were part of, you know, the launch, if you were somebody like me who was waiting at exactly the right time to place your order during the Hobonichi launch, this thing sold out like within maybe 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes of the launch. So I absolutely love this cover, but one of the things that I've noticed is this takes up a lot of space on my desk. And while I have cleared my desk right now to help myself film a little better, I usually have my laptop, my keyboard, a cup of coffee, my water, and there's a lot of stuff that just relies around the table because I am, you know, this is my working desk. And I have noticed that you know, when I'm opening this book, I'm not somebody who tends to write like that. I will always tilt so that I can get to the page. This is how I would write. You know, I have this angle, and most people have that angle. But because of that, there's a lot of extra space that this cover takes up, which is one of the reasons that I felt that I have not been finding this Hobonichi cover a lot functional. And I think this is something that happens with a lot of the trifold covers. So as of late, and this is just something that I've started a couple of days ago, I have taken out, you know, the actual cousin, the book from the cover, and I've just started using it just with a clear cover. And I feel like my planning has become a lot better because I'm able to, you know, maneuver around my desk a little bit more, and I do have enough space, and in a way that I'm not taking up a whole lot of space on the table. So that is something that I've noticed as well. And I feel like while I will get back to that cover more often, I feel like if I'm like in a rush or if I want to do something, I would probably just keep that, you know, the leather cover out of the book for now, and maybe use it if I get a larger desk. And it's something that is a very minor thing when you think about it, but it plays a big role in me trying to get into my book. And I've noticed that after I've started doing that, I feel a little bit more comfortable writing in these pages. Not that I am writing every single day like I used to, but I'm still at a point where I'm okay to write what I want, and I don't feel like there is something obstructing my desk and my, you know, ability to move around the table much when I am planning. So that is something that I've also thought about. And while I was intending to use this as, you know, a catch-all everyday planner, now that I have so many blank pages, I am kind of reassessing what I need to do for next year, whether I will stick to the Hobonichi cousin or even just reuse this. And there is a high chance that I'm gonna reuse this book because there are quite a lot of blank pages in here. And I feel as though, you know, not to say that the papers are gonna be wasteful. I can always come back and draw things that I'm interested to draw, but if I really wanted to plan something, I would still maybe want enough space to plan out my week. And I'm trying to figure out a system where, you know, I can maybe reuse this book for 2024. And I'm still thinking about it. I have a few ideas which are not completely ironed out, but that is something that I have been thinking. So that's what I probably have to talk about the Hobonichi cousin. I feel like, you know, with my art blog going on and with my inability to actually, you know, make a lot of these art pieces on my planner, I would, you know, like you can clearly see a difference from how I started off the month versus how, you know, things are going. I used to just simply draw stuff and just paint them in, and I feel like a lot of that has changed for now. There are blank pages, but I feel like I was much more creative earlier, at the beginning of the month, and even, you know, at the beginning of the year. And I feel like I've kind of drained out, and a lot of things have been going on in our personal lives as well. So it's just something that you have to constantly reconsider when you are using a book. And I think that's also part of the whole journey when you are planning and journaling in a book. So I feel like while I'm not feeling 100%, I know for a fact that I can still turn to my Hobonichi cousin if I ever want to completely plan my week. So that's how this has been going. So the next one is the Hobonichi Weeks cover that I had purchased for 2023. This is also part of the One Piece lineup. And I intended to use this as a social media planner. And again, I was completely, on a very good streak at the beginning of the year. I also did a few plan with me's in the Hobonichi Weeks when, I had posted a few of those videos as well. But again, I feel like this is something that I could have completely avoided. This book is something that I could have completely avoided. I feel like I do write occasionally in here, but if I'm actually looking at the weeks for, there are a lot of empty pages. I don't write much. I don't technically plan out my social media schedule in the weeks. I still use the Hobonichi cousin for that. So I feel like this has become something that is just sitting here and it's not enough. I don't have much information in here, but I do feel like I can use this occasionally. So what I've done for now, and while I'm not using this as my social media planner, I am using this as like a catch-all planner that goes into my bag. Like if I have any thoughts or if I'm hearing stuff or if I just want to jot down something really quick when I'm out and about, that's what this week's is getting used for. And I think that's kind of working for me. And the same thing that I mentioned with my Hobonichi cousin, I feel like, there are a lot of empty and blank pages in here that I feel like can be reused for next year. If I'm ever feeling like I'm running out of pages in my, 2023 planner for my 2024, I feel like I can always turn to this book because there are still a lot of pages that you can actually use for planning. And this is not just the weekly pages, but also the monthly pages that are completely empty for me. And while I do feel a little sad when I see this because it's also like an indication that, okay, you did not stick through the plan that you made for yourself. But I'm trying to be a little more kind to myself because this is, I don't want, personally, I don't want journaling, planning, or writing in any of my books to become one more task that I want to check off of a to-do list. And especially when you are completely in a different mode of life, sometimes your life is just way too fast and you're not able to do some of these things. And while it might be a good goal for you to keep writing in a book, making sure that you write every single day, and this is something that I was planning to do for this year, I also acknowledge that it is very hard to do something when you're not completely in the mood for it. So I just don't want this to become a thing that I just do for the sake of doing and in the process end up hating it altogether. So I'm trying to be a little kind to myself and saying that, okay, there are pages, there are blank pages. Yes, you did spend a lot of money trying to get these books, but it's not like you need to throw it away for next year. You can always reuse them. And since there are quite a lot of pages, it's something that I can make use of in the next year. I'm trying to put this as like a catch-all, journal, commonplace book, maybe that's what you might call it. And it just stays in my bag. And I think it's pretty nice having it in there. I feel like there's a tiny bit of a safety net for me for some reason having this in my bag. I feel like this is still like a small extension of me, and knowing that this is there for me when I'm out and about brings me a lot of peace, for lack of a better term. So that's how this has been going. And we're gonna move on to the next one. this is my 7-year journal, and if you don't know about this, I did make a very extensive video about how I converted this 2022 Inuyasha weeks into a 7-year journal, and I'm just gonna link it up in the cards. And let me tell you, this has been going exceedingly well for me, and I have been able to keep up with this even when I was, on vacation. I think the whole reason why I did create something like this was because I wanted something extremely portable that I could carry around when I'm out and about. And I think this was a very good decision on my part. I feel like this is one of those once in a lifetime genius moments that I've had in my life. And I really commend past me for coming up with this idea, because I obviously wanted something that can, go with me as I move about. And I also wanted something that I wouldn't be bored of when I'm looking at it, and this was what I came up with. And let me tell you, it has been going really well. We are in July. I'm actually filming this on July 6th, so I am caught up. So there are a few changes to how I have been recording my thoughts, as mentioned in my previous video, or the one that I'm linking up in the cards. But I am also additionally tracking my mood for those months. So like for the 6th, which is June, I just figured out that this section right here actually has 7 slots, and it's perfect for me to track every year. And it's just giving me like a very high level idea of whether my mood was great, whether it was okay, or whether it was bad. So I'm using those Zig clean clear dot markers to indicate these dots here. And while I'm not caught up with this particular part of it, this is something that I can actually fill after the month is over. So it's not that I come back every single day when I'm writing in my thoughts and fill this. I just take a look at how my month went and then fill it after the month is over. So this is more easier for me to catch up on rather than doing it every single day. And the same thing goes for, my entries for every single day for the year. Even though I miss, let's say I miss 5 days in a row, it's enough for me to figure out what happened and just give like a really high level overview of what happened, basically where I was, what happened that day, if there was something consequential that happened, or if nothing happened, I'll just write, yeah, it was just a chill day. So this is something that I'm really happy I stuck with. It's I just wrote on June 18th or June 13th. It's just a midday. So that's all that's required for me. And I feel like, once the year is over and I restart, my entries for January 1st, that will be much more easier or much more interesting to see, because I can then compare how it was the previous year. So I feel like this 7-year journal is something that has been really good for me. And there are few days, and there's only been one day so far, where I have a lot to write about this day. So I did use a indication that there is something more for me to write, and I just write more about it in the back pages. So this has been going really well for me. I have this in a clear cover by Hobonichi itself, and I'm using a Kaweco Sport fountain pen to write those entries. It's just more easier for me. So I feel like this is something that I've been able to keep up with, and I'm really happy that I have been able to keep up with this. And the last one that I want to talk about is this giant Gilio A5 binder. And I'm not gonna lie, this is not going that great either. So I feel like I did set up a lot of this and just didn't particularly use it much. I was using this as like a getting things done method, and I started it and it was pretty good the first few months. Again, I think until February I was going on a really good streak in all of my planners and journals, It's just that it just didn't work. I mean, I think, again, this is such a heavy leather, and the fact that there is actually no space for this on my desk. So this stays in my drawer, and the fact that I have to take this out of the drawer and look at it and write down what's next is what was kind of putting me off. I really want to repurpose this book for something else because it's absolutely beautiful. I do also feel that maybe it could be something that I can sell because this is the Yale blue. It's really pretty, but I don't want to keep this if I'm not intending to actually use it. But again, this is something that had been going really well for me, but trying to take the book out and look at what I need to do and then move it back into another place without it being readily available for me, I think that's what's putting me off. And you might think, oh, maybe the solution is to get a desk, but maybe that's not the solution. So I instead have and I spoke about this a little bit in my previous video where I'm actually using a Kanban board, which I've just made out of washi tape and, loose memo pad papers that's just facing me as I work. And that's something that I can see when I'm working. And that's what I have been doing to replace this method. So while that is working really well for me, I also want to do something with this binder. If I don't come up with any ideas, I do plan to sell it. So that's how this one's going. This would be pretty good as like an overall everyday planner, but trying to fit this into a routine where I'm already having like 3 other books to catch up on, it's just not working for me. So for now, this is just gonna stay in the drawer inside its dust bag, and I'll insert a video or a footage of the Kanban board that I'm talking about, which is actually working pretty well for me. So you can see how, the things have changed, of how I'm trying to convert this into like a more visual wall that I can stare at when I'm working instead of like opening the book and closing it and putting it back. So that's how it's going with this one. So at the end of the day, I feel like I might not have stuck to my original plan, but I also feel like there are things that I can work out in these systems that could make it better for me in the upcoming months. And while I'm really happy with my 7-year journal, I'm still trying to make sure that this is something of a system that I'm still intending to use for 2024. And for the rest of the year. And in fact, I feel like when the rest of the year is concerned, I will still be sticking to the Hobonichi cousin. I don't intend to change it. I feel like if I am not planning or writing things on a particular day, I am trying to consider it as pieces that I can use for when I have a lot to write, or if I'm looking for a page for writing stuff, I know that I have a safety net to fall back on is what I'm looking at the Hobonichi cousin as. And of course, like I mentioned about this One Piece weeks, totally a different plan than what I had for when I started the year. I don't think this is going to be a social media planner. While it might be that I will continue planning certain things in it, I think this is going to be like a more of a, extension of me when I'm just out and about without having to take the big cousin. So I feel like this is something that, we as part of the planner community still struggle with. I think a lot of people struggle with this. Is maybe it's the planner slump, maybe it's the feeling of, not being able to achieve what you started out with. And this is not just related to your books. This is also related to how things happen in your life, right? So I think that I will be continuing to use the Hobonichi cousin. When the preview comes out in August, I'm trying to avoid purchasing from Hobonichi this year because let me be very real with you. I also have another weeks that I haven't even opened. So I have a 2023 weeks by Shibata Seijin, which I haven't even opened. So I plan to use that for the next year, or I plan to use that in some way or form, because I don't think I need any more books from the looks of this, right? But you never know if there's something really interesting, or if they're making an extremely wonderful manga classic collaboration. I might cave and buy something, but I'm trying to avoid it. Let me know how your Techo Kaigi is going, and do you think you have stuck to the plans that you've started the year with? And have you tried, switching planners? Because that was something that I did consider at one point, but I feel like switching the planner is not technically gonna work for me, because I'm in a situation where I just don't feel like writing, or just don't feel like drawing anything. So that's where I feel like planner switching might not work. But let me know what has been working for you, and what has not been working for you, because there are some things, like I said, the giant cover opening, sprawling around the desk is something that's not working for me, because I really don't have enough space. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.